Question number 7 now. Loads of people drop marks on this one, and it's all because of the units. This is where reading and really thinking about the question is so useful. An architect has a scale model of a building which is in the process of being planned. The height of the real building will be 1,100 times bigger than the model. The height of the model of... That's terrible. That doesn't make any sense. The height of the model is 2.5 centimeters. What will the height of the building be? Give your answer in meters. So what I do is, firstly, I would start just thinking about the wording. Well, I can see the first 1,100 times bigger times, well, we know that's multiply, so this question is going to involve multiply. This stuff, let's face it, isn't really that useful for actually working out the answer. And it says the model is 2.5 centimeters. Give your answer in meters. So it's really worth looking at these units. What's that mean? We're going to be converting units at the end. And just a tip, this is where everyone who've dropped the marks, and mainly dropped the marks on this one, is the units conversion part. So if the original building is 2.5 centimeters and the final building is 1,100 times bigger, well, from the wording of the question, we know it's going to be 2.5 times 1,100. How I do that is I just do 2.5 times 1,000, 2.5 times 100, and add them together. So 2.5 times 1,000, I'm moving up 1, 2, 3 places, so it's going to be 2,500. If I wanted to check that, I'd write my 2 here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that works. And then this one is going to be 2 places. 1, 2. So it's going to be 2,500. And again, I'd write my 2 here. 1, 2. Yeah, that's right. And then I add them together. So it's 2,750. Now, what's this say? Centimeters. So this is centimeters. This is centimeters. What does it want my answer in? It wants my answer in meters. So let's write that there. Well, to get from centimeters to meters, how am I going to do that? If you're uncertain at this point, I just write it out. 100 centimeters is 1 meter. So what do I have to do to centimeters to get to meters? Well, I need to divide by 100. So I do 2750 divided by 100. Move down 2 columns. So it'd be 27.5 to 7.5. So 27.5 meters. Brilliant. 27.5 meters. Yeah, which makes sense. Good. Next one. What is the answer to 103 times 7? So I'm just going to write out my multiplication. As you can see, I've already written it wrong. Let's put it correctly. 103, 7 times. So I do 7 times 3, which is 21. 7 times 100, which is 700. I'm going to add those together. 1, 2, 7. 721. It's quite a nice one, this one. I quite liked it. But quick way to check, let's just do 3 times 7, just to be certain. Equals 21. Yep, and then if I want to estimate my answer, I'd round these to one single figure, so it'd be 100 times 7, which is 700. Let's put a wavy line just to show we're estimating. 700, pretty close to 721, so yeah, that's good. Number 9. Now, number 9 is big. You're all pretty strong on this, on the same method-wise, but it's just about making sure we don't make any mistakes on this. So I'm going to lay it out. 2, 8, 9, 2. The first thing I'd say, and I always say this, is write down rather than think it. It's so easy to go, oh, I can do 9 times 128 in my head. Easy peasy. It's much better to write down the steps you're thinking over next to it than to try and hold it in your head. Generally, on average, the human mind is meant, I think in theory, to only be able to hold 7 pieces of information at once. So the more information you're putting in, the less able to process it you are being. When you start writing it down, you're removing it from your head, you're putting it on the paper so you can focus more on the calculations and you'll be less likely to make a mistake. And with all these sort of questions, it's really about minimizing risk, minimizing the chance you're going to make a mistake. So I probably would, you can either estimate at the end to check your answer, or you could estimate at the beginning to see if your answer's on the right lines. I'm going to estimate at the end. I'll do that in a sec. I think there's going to be a slight blip because my video is about to die. So 2 times 128, that's going to give me, well, 8 times 2 is 16. 2 times 2 is 4, so 5. 2 times 1 is 2 times 100 is 200, so 256. So I've done this part. Good. Next, I need to do 90 times 128. It's worth writing it as 90 times 128 because so many people make mistakes forgetting it's 90, not 9. Now, some people do the trick where they put the 0 at the end because we're timesing by an extra 10. You can do that if you want. I might even do that. If you don't do that, that's also fine. What I've just done for this 0, just to reiterate, is that 9 times 10 is 90, so I can just put times by 10, just add a 0, because I know everything times 9 is going to be times by 10. So, for this one here, 9 times 128, well, I probably write it out again, actually, to be honest. But better. So 1, 2, 8, 9. And then you get to watch me do my times tables in the top of my head. How quickly I do this? Well, this is 72. 2 times 9 is 18. But of course it's 180 because it's 20. So this is where you need to be really aware of your columns. I almost made that mistake. Then 900, and I've crossed the lines because I'm not very neat sometimes. So I've got 2. I've got 7 plus 8, which is 15. Yep, I'm right. And then 9 plus 1. So that would be, because that was too long a pause. 1152. And remember, because I times by 90, I need to times this answer by an extra 0. So it should be 2, 5. And it's often good to go upwards so you make sure everything's lining up nice and neat. 1, 1. Now I know the answer already, so if this gets the wrong answer, this is going to be really, really embarrassing. 6, 7, 7, 1, 1. Yes, 11,776. Yeah, that's good. How can I check it? 2 ways I can check it. I'm going to do the n numbers. 8 times 2 equals 16. Does this end in a 6? Yep, this ends in a 6. Good. Other ways I can round it. So I do 100, because I round this to one single figure, times 92, which is 90. So if I multiply those together, it's 9,000. Well, my answer is pretty close here. Again, 9,000 is pretty close to 11,776. So I'm going to stick my answer in the answer box. Always stick your answer in the answer box. Question 10. Round 6.45 to the nearest whole number. So I get my 6.45 whole number. Well, we could also say the word integer. Just means no decimal places. So that means I need to look at the number above the decimal place. If it's saying to the nearest whole number, I need to look at the first number which isn't a decimal. So 6. I then look at the number underneath to work out if I'm going to round up or down. Well, in this case, 4 is lower than 5. All the other numbers don't matter. So if I wanted to, I could put my finger on it if you get confused. So 4 is smaller than 5. So I'm going to round down. So it's going to just be 6. There should be no decimals in my answer. There are no decimals in my answer. But life is good. And that's sorted. Next one. 361 times 0.01. Now, when I'm dealing with decimals, the first thing I'm going to do is 361 times 1. I'm going to ignore the decimals. What's 361 times 1? It's 361. Then I'm going to write the one underneath it, the original question, times 0.01. What do I have to do to 361 to get to 361? Nothing. They're the same number. What do I have to do to 1 to get to 0.01? I have to divide by 100. Now, equations are like scales. They have to be balanced on both sides. So what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So if I divide this one by 100, I need to divide this one by 100 too. So I divide this by 100, I move it down 2 places. So it would be 3.61. And write 3.61 in my answer. If there was another quick way I could check, I could just round these to one single figure. I could do 300 times 0.01. And if you know this, I know this off the top of my head, I know times by 0.01 is the same as dividing by 100. 300 divided by 100 is 3. 3 is pretty close to 3.61. In fact, they're in the same sort of columns, so that must be probably, possibly right. This one here we haven't covered yet, but I'll show you how I'm going to teach it. So if you want to get ahead, here's your opportunity. 7 divided by 0.001. Some of these I haven't actually taught anyway. This is just a test on everything that you've done in primary and secondary. Now, 7 divided by 0.01. Now, what I do is I'd write it out like this. 7 over 0.001. Because this line just means divide. Now, I don't like dividing by decimals. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by the same amount until I get rid of my decimals. So if I times this by 10, I times this by 10, I'm keeping them equal because I'm doing the same to both sides. So this would be 70 over 0.01 because I've moved up one column. And then I realise that I've got to move 2 more columns up before I get rid of my decimal. So I'm going to times this by 100 because I want to move up 2 columns. So times by 100 times by 100. So this is 7,000 over 1. And then I just write it back as a division. 7,000 divided by 1 equals 7,000. So my answer would be 7,000. And a quick trick I could use is that timesing by a decimal is the same as dividing by 100. Dividing by a decimal is the same as multiplying. So in this case, it's the same as multiplying by 1, 2, 3, 1,000. It's the same as multiplying by 1,000, 7,000. Perfect. Then I've got question 12. Work out an estimate for the value of 5.1 times 98. So keyword estimate. Estimate equals rounding. It's a really good way of remembering it. If you see that question, it means you need to round everything in the question, not your answer. You round everything in the question to one significant figure. So let's write it 1 SF. That means I look for the first number in each number, which isn't 0. So in this case, this 5 isn't 0. So I circle it and look at the number underneath. Do I need to round up or do I need to round down? Well, 1 is less than 5, so I'm going to round it down. I'm going to round it to 5. Then I'm going to look at 98. I'm going to look at my first significant figure. That's the 9 because it's the first one. I look at the 8, which is just underneath. I'm going to round up or I'm going to round down. Well, it's 8, so I'm going to round up. So I'm going to add 1 to the tens column. So 90 add 10 equals 100. So I'm going to do 5 times 100, which equals 500. How do you check your answer? Well, there's not really any way to check your answer with this one. You just have to redo it because we normally use estimation to guess the answer.